If a single, small creature could reveal the blueprint for human spiritual evolution, would you know how to read the lesson? We spend our lives seeking profound seismic shifts in our being, yet often miss the quiet wisdom arriving right at our feet. Today, we're not just talking about dogs. We're examining a neglected ancient insight into inner mastery and discovering why your most steadfast companion might hold the key to the modern Stoic life. The ultimate payoff isn't a secret prophecy, it's a radical, testable claim. True peace is not found in controlling the cosmos, but in perfecting your response to its smallest, most constant gravitational pull. By the end of this journey, you'll understand not only what the ancients meant by living according to nature, but also the precise, daily practice that unlocks the unbreakable fortress of the self. The first loop will open. How does a philosopher like Marcus Aurelius find an ally in a four-legged friend? First, let us establish the essential boundaries of this exploration. This is philosophy, a rigorous training for the mind and character. It offers educational perspectives on ethical living and mental discipline. But it is not a substitute for professional counsel. For any personal decision concerning health, legal matters, or specific life choices, always seek out qualified expertise. The goal here is clarity, not certainty, reflection, not prescription. The modern quest for spiritual awakening often confuses the sublime with the sensational. We chase extraordinary events, global shifts, cosmic prophecies, hoping an external event will rescue us from internal chaos. The source material, drawing from esoteric readings, speaks of dogs as energetic cleansers and telepathic communicators, arriving now to usher in a higher vibration. But for the disciplined mind, the external narrative is mere decoration. The essential truth lies in the Beauvois principle. The ancient Stoics taught that the highest purpose of humanity is tailit virtue, practical wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance, all of which are perfectly within our control. The rest, fame, wealth, health, and yes, even the telepathic powers of a beloved animal, are mere indifference. The core wisdom of Epictetus, the freed slave who taught generations, is the dichotomy of control. Some things are up to us, and some are not. Our judgments, intentions, and reactions are ours. The actions of others, the movements of the stars, and the precise timing of a global shift are not ours. The philosophical era is to seek mastery over the indifference. The Stoic practice is to concentrate one's entire psychological gravity onto the one power that cannot be taken away. The power of choice, or prohairesis. When the source speaks of dogs developing an increased intuition to detect disease or preempt disaster, the Stoic gently nods. The external fact is interesting, perhaps even useful, but the internal lesson is profound. The dog's reliable present moment focus is a mirror of our perfect concentration. We should aim for. The dog doesn't fret about the tumor it might detect tomorrow. It simply acts on the information of this moment. Its being is its discipline. This principle translates into daily life with surgical clarity. We are constantly tormented by judging events rather than simply receiving them. When your dog greets you, your emotional judgment might be, "This animal loves me unconditionally and I'm worthy of it." The simple event is a creature performing a behavior. The Stoic trains to strip away the emotional overlay, the judgment. This creates a pause, a small but infinite gap. between the external stimulus and the internal response. In that pause lies freedom. Seneca reminds us that suffering often comes not from the event itself, but from the expectation of suffering, the anticipatory dread that paralyzes us. The reports of dogs detecting unspoken intent are compelling, but they illuminate a greater human deficit. We are poor communicators of our own reality because we are constantly projecting anxiety into the future. The dog is merely reading the unfiltered present state that we ourselves are trying to mask. Consider the common downfall, the preventable slip into misery, which so many face. We'll call him Lucius, a composite of many who mistake competence for control. Lucius was a masterful architect, a man whose hands shaped stone and glass into marvels. He believed his power lay in his perfect execution. One day, a sudden regulatory change, a political whim utterly outside his purview, halted his magnum opus mid-construction. He didn't just feel disappointment, he felt annihilated. Why? Because he had placed his identity and his peace in the external indifferent, the completed building. His training was in architecture, but his flaw was in psychological architecture. He mistook the skill of building for the skill of living. The preventable downfall here was not the project's failure, but Lucius's failure to build the inner fortress that Marcus Aurelius spoke of, a citadel unassailable by external fortune. The emotional beat of his story is the silent scream of the capable man stripped of his capability. The Stoic insight is that the external scaffolding of your achievements is flimsy and temporary. The internal structure of your character is the only thing that withstands the siege. He spent months paralyzed, learning a hard lesson. Your proheresis is not the power to make the world bend, but the power to prevent the world from breaking you. The path to transformation requires a deliberate, hard-won shift in perception. This shift is not a miraculous awakening, but a delayed awakening that comes through voluntary friction. The source mentions dogs acting as energetic cleansers. This aligns beautifully with the Stoic concept of voluntary discomfort. Diogenes slept in a tub. Seneca practiced poverty. This wasn't to be miserable, but to inoculate the soul against sudden loss. Think of Aelia, a composite of those who learn through profound contrast. Aelia spent years seeking a validation through spiritual gurus and complex systems, convinced enlightenment lay in some secret, inaccessible knowledge. Her delayed awakening came not in a mountain retreat, but on the floor of her small apartment, nursing a sick, newly adopted rescue dog. The dog demanded nothing but presence. No telepathy, no energetic cleansing, just the raw, demanding moment-by-moment labor of care. This forced Aelia to stop intellectualizing virtue and start doing it. She had to face the fear of helplessness, the exhaustion, and the simple injustice of a creature's suffering, all while maintaining her character. The hard lesson was this: the sublime is embedded in the mundane. The emotional beat was the slow, steady burn of fatigue giving way to selfless duty. She closed the loop on her spiritual quest by realizing the object of her search had been staring back at her the entire time, demanding temperance and courage in the smallest, most immediate act. The dog's complete surrender to its moment, sickness, recovery, rest, was its virtue, and her disciplined care became hers. The third arc is the credible transformation. grounded not in prophecy, but in the deliberate architecture of habit. We'll call him Cassian, a modern man who understood Stoicism as a training forge. Cassian used to be violently reactive to market swings and bureaucratic slights, the classic case of confusing preferred indifference with necessities. He realized that the ancient wisdom of resilience through negative visualization was the key. When the source speaks of dogs being attuned to fields of consciousness, Cassian translated this into a daily practice of becoming attuned to the field of his own consciousness. Every morning, he'd perform the exercise of premeditatio malorum. He would actively consider the worst credible outcomes: losing his job, suffering a minor injury, being betrayed by a colleague. Not to invite them, but to pre-grieve them within the safe confines of his mind. This stripped the events of their shock value, allowing his prohoresis to remain intact when they actually occurred. His transformation wasn't a lightning bolt. It was the slow, steady forging of his reactions. The analogy of the K-ship in the storm became his motif. He couldn't command the wind or the waves, but he could ensure the ship of his mind was taut, well-provisioned, and expertly steered. He became known not for the absence of trouble in his life, but for his unwavering temperament within it. The credible transformation lies in the fact that he stopped hoping for good fortune and started expecting the universe to behave exactly as the universe behaves, with impersonal, magnificent indifference to his personal convenience. This brings us to the crucial nuance in understanding ancient texts. When we speak of dogs acting as spiritual allies, the Stoic cautions against anthropocentric oversimplification. The dog is a teacher by example, not a supernatural agent. Its virtue is its natural excellence, its fidelity, its presence, its perfect simplicity of desire. It desires food, rest, and connection, and it is entirely without the anxiety of reputation, future planning, or past regret that tortures the human mind. The dog is an exemplar of living in the present moment, which is the highest expression of Epictetus's advice. Do not seek to have events happen as you want them to, but want them to happen as they do happen, and all will be well with you. The telepathy reported is perhaps not a transmission of complex thought, but the simple, unmasked resonance of two beings sharing a focused moment. Our job is to become as unmasked and present as they are. The open loop we planted. How does a philosopher like Marcus Aurelius find an ally in a four-legged friend? Is now ready to close. The emperor-philosopher, burdened with the weight of an empire, sought wisdom not in grand visions, but in the observation of nature. He would have cherished the dog not for its potential prophecy, but for its perfect consistency and fidelity to its own nature. The dog's commitment is absolute, unmarred by hypocrisy or intellectual vanity. It is a living lesson in practical virtue. It demonstrates courage in defense, justice in its impartiality, temperance in its habits, and wisdom in its simplicity. The dog is an ally because it asks nothing of your external fortune and everything of your internal character. It is a constant reminder that the highest good is self-contained. Our journey has moved from the sensational claim to the quiet, disciplined truth. The key takeaways are portable and actionable. First, the mirror principle. Treat your dog's unflustered presence as a mirror to your own turbulent internal state. Second, the gravity check. When anxiety pulls you toward what you cannot control, pause and identify the singular thing you can control, your immediate next judgment. Third, the architecture of virtue. Use daily, small acts of care and voluntary discomfort, like a simple, disciplined walk, rain or shine, to build the inner character that no external event can dismantle. This is the unbreakable fortress. We began by seeking the blueprint for human spiritual evolution. We found it not in a grand esoteric prophecy, but in the simple, testable commitment to virtue that a dog practices every moment of its life. The prophecy of a rising consciousness is merely the opportunity for us to rise. The question remains, having seen the profound discipline demonstrated by your companion, are you now ready to train your own soul with the same focused intensity? The next chapter in this training, the natural continuation of our philosophical work, lies in mastering the discipline of desire, how to moderate our wants and needs so that we become truly content with what we have and exercise in profound gratitude and elegant simplicity that frees us from the tyranny of insatiable expectation. This is the surest path to peace